This video rewinds to October 1995. Perhaps not the most obvious period for football-related violence, but this battle certainly was that. Up to 6,000 Geordies arrive in Stoke for a League Cup encounter, but didn't expect such a ferocious defence of Stoke City by the Naughty 40 firm. Let's hear the stories. First, we have Stoke's Naughty 40 member Mark, who told us, "Berserk soccer thugs, fight running battles." That was the headline after one of the most notorious cup ties between Stoke City and Newcastle United at the old Victoria ground. Newcastle, with their famously passionate following, brought over 6,000 supporters, some arriving in Stoke from 10 a.m. for an evening kickoff. It was always going to be a wild day. Stoke had a long history of links to the northeast, dating back to mining days, and that day the city was bracing itself. From the late morning, pubs were filling up with Stoke's casuals, shirt boys and older faces. Most of the Newcastle fans wandered in throughout the afternoon, families and all, wearing colours but causing no trouble. Word was, though, that their lads had yet to show. Rumours spread quickly. 50 Newcastle lads seen in Hanley, another group in the Market Tavern, until Deadly Darren, a loud-mouthed storyteller from Alsager, burst into the Wheatsheaf with the story that lit the fuse. "You won't believe it. Geordies have glassed a little girl," he claimed. No one wanted to believe it, but Darren swore on it, said it was on the radio. Minutes later, radios in pubs confirmed it. A fight on the outskirts had left a child injured. True or not, that was all it took. Rage boiled over, and by early evening, Stoke town centre was hostile and primed for violence. By 7 p.m, most Newcastle fans were safely inside the away end. From the outside, it was clear they'd bunkered down. No songs, no chants, just a subdued mass under siege. Hundreds of Stoke fans charged the turnstiles, desperate to get at them, ignoring police lines and any unwritten hooligan code about avoiding civilians. Not everyone stayed by the ground. Around 70 of the older Naughty 40 remained in Charlie's back room, restless. Carter, one of the main lads, was fuming. "Where are the Geordie boys?" he kept asking. His answer came when Bert the Meerkat, their top scout, appeared. Roebuck pub, 100 of them, with the EBF. The EBF, English Border Front, were Shrewsbury's crew, mates with Newcastle's gremlins. Stoke didn't care who was with them, they just wanted a fight. Carter and his lifelong sidekick, Mad Baz, led the way from Charlie's, thumping each other for laughs before charging towards the station area where the Roebuck sat. The area was grim, dimly lit, terraces, dark railway bridges. They headed through the tunnel and uphill towards the pub. Carter and Baz slapped each other around for fun, but tightened up as they approached, seeing Newcastle's vans parked up nearby. "They're coming out!" someone shouted. Out poured a combined Newcastle and Shrewsbury mob, around 100 strong. They ran straight into the waiting Stoke lads, fists flying. Carter held firm, locking onto a stocky bald lad from EBF, wielding a screwdriver. The bloke lunged, tearing Carter's jacket and skin. Carter shrugged it off, countered with a flurry of punches, and dropped him cold. Police sirens blared, signalling the inevitable baton charge. "Time to move!" Baz yelled, dragging Carter away. Carter crouched over his flawed opponent, just long enough to deliver one last insult. "Oi, Dick. We're Stoke City, and we're fucking mental." Inside the ground, it was total chaos. Injured Geordies were ferried to hospital, some with severe head injuries. Seats were ripped up, and coins rained down from both ends. Several mobs of Stoke, ticketless and banned, launched attack after attack on Newcastle's turnstiles and fans throughout the game. Midway through the second half, another Stoke gang made an audacious move, climbing onto a police surveillance hut roof, leaping across floodlights, and attempting to drop into the away end. One man fell 30 feet, smashing both legs and his spine. It barely slowed the chaos. Outside the ground, things got worse. Hundreds of Stoke fans stalked Newcastle's transport, smashing vans, ambushing isolated groups, and fighting police in alleyways and streets. Escorting Newcastle through the town centre was impossible. Stoke mobs attacked from markets, car parks, even a graveyard. At one point, Carter and around 30 others ambushed Newcastle's front ranks from the cemetery. Initially successful, they were soon beaten back over walls as Geordie numbers overwhelmed them. Carter, always at the heart of it, launched a solo charge back into their lines, swinging wildly before being battered back by fists and batons, eventually pulled to safety by his own. The night continued with wave after wave of fighting, especially near the train station. Hundreds of Geordies were hunted along Leek Road, ambushed as they neared the station. Some Stoke lads waited quietly in car parks, letting the first few hundred Newcastle fans pass before charging out, leaping over cars and swinging punches into the retreating crowds. When Newcastle eventually got moving, police controlled them in slow-moving batches, stopping and starting, boxing them in with horses and riot vans. Every corner, every street seemed to hold another lurking mob, looking to have one last dig before the night ended. Only 18 Stoke fans were arrested, a sign of how stretched the police were. The violence that night went beyond usual hooliganism. What started as fury over a rumour spiraled into a full-scale riot, targeting anyone wearing black and white. For weeks after, Stoke was infamous for what happened. The Stoke lads rarely spoke of it. Many were uncomfortable with how far things went, especially against ordinary fans and families. But it stood as a brutal reminder. When Stoke goes off, it goes properly off. It was one of those nights when the whole city seemed to explode, fueled by anger, frustration, and a single spark. Newcastle Mainline Express member Ryan told us. So it's time to step back in time to 1995, more precisely the 25th of October 1995, a League Cup tie away at Stoke City, back when they were still at their old, rickety but atmospheric Victoria ground. A proper football ground, before they got their hands on the lifeless IKEA flat-pack stadium they sit in now, which, like most modern grounds, is soulless and sterile. Back then, Newcastle United were absolutely flying. This was the era of the entertainers, when Beardsley, Selez, Ginola, Rob Lee, Gillespie and the rest were battering teams for fun, and tickets for away games were like gold dust. Premier League matches were sellouts home and away, and if you didn't have a season ticket, your chances of seeing Newcastle were slim. But this was the League Cup, less of a pull for some, but when you've got 4,500 tickets available, you'd take your chance. The result was a packed away end, a mix of regulars and part-timers, plenty of families in among the hardcore. At the time I was living in West Allotment, and the plan was to get down there in a van full of our usual mob. But work had me delayed, so I made a quick call, missed the van, and ended up heading down with my best mate and fellow trouble seeker, Steve. Just the two of us, in my old banger, setting off early afternoon. We stopped for some scran up past Alston, but by the time we got anywhere near Stoke, traffic was crawling. Matchday chaos. For a 7:45 kickoff, we didn't get parked up until about 6:30. Straight away we clocked it. This wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Some local Stoke lads, not kids, proper grown fellas, pointed us to a pub, but warned it was home fans only. No bother. We'd been here before. Knew it could kick off, but didn't expect much. Pub after pub, Newcastle fans were getting turned away, ending up drinking tinnies in the streets. Me and Steve weren't bothered. We were half covered up in denim and jackets, not flashing colours openly, but we made our way straight to the ground. Then it kicked off for the first time. We were walking past the main entrance of the Victoria ground when Steve got shoved from behind. One of Stoke's lot had purposely tried to trip him up. Steve spun round, told him exactly what he thought. But before we could react proper, another one took a swing at me, right in front of the police. We looked around. Suddenly, we were bang in the middle of a Stoke pack who were absolutely game. Steve didn't hesitate. He cracked the lad who'd swung for me. I followed up with a quick dig to another one's nose, and we legged it through the crowd, dodging a useless police line who just stood watching like mannequins. We managed to escape into the safety of the away turnstiles. Inside the ground, Word was already spreading that it had been lively across town since early afternoon. Rumours were swirling. Some nonsense about a Newcastle fan stabbing a pregnant woman. Complete fabrication, of course. Never proved, never happened. But it had given their lot all the excuse they needed. The match itself was a battering. Ginola absolutely ruined their full-back. Beardsley was magical, and we coasted to a 4-0 win that honestly flattered Stoke. But inside the ground, the second round of drama unfolded. Near the back of the away end, as the second half kicked off, a group of Stoke's lot, probably about 20 of them, managed to appear out of nowhere in the paddock area to our left, trying to get into the away end through a side gate. A few of our more clued-up lads clocked it immediately. Me and Steve were already on the way down the steps before they even got the gate open. It was a sharp, brutal clash, boots and fists flying, and their little sortie was flattened inside 2 minutes. Steve left one lad in a heap with a boot to the ribs, and they were forced back by a surge of black and white. But the real carnage was waiting outside. After the final whistle, we peeled off from the main group of Toon fans because we'd parked further away, near some industrial units. It was eerily quiet until we hit the main road back to the car. Third scrap of the night, this time worse than anything earlier. We walked right into an ambush, Stoke spotters everywhere, cars getting attacked left and right. A few of our lot had got isolated in the wrong area and were getting pelted with bricks and bottles. A battered Land Rover sat in the road, every window smashed. 2 lads ahead of us got dragged from their car, wearing black and white scarves, and got laid into properly. Me and Steve clocked the danger instantly. Steve had pulled off his jacket, but I told him to get it back on sharpish. My car had some giveaway Newcastle stickers in the back window, so we ripped them down quickly, but I knew our northern accents could give us away in a heartbeat. We got to the car, jumped in, and tried to make a run for it, but the traffic was gridlocked. I could see a few Stoke spotters eyeing us up, creeping closer through the lines of traffic. Steve whispered, "They've clocked us." And he was right. One pointed straight at us, and a few of them started moving in. I didn't wait. Slammed the car into gear, jumped the curb, ploughed through some empty cones, and took off the wrong way down a one-way street. Managed to find a back road out of the area, away from the ground, and didn't stop till we were miles outside Stoke heading east. We ended up in a quiet village pub near Derby, where we met a few other stragglers, all telling similar stories. Ambushes, attacks on cars, families terrified. It wasn't just handbags, it was serious. That night 2 of our lads were hospitalised, and there was carnage around the Victoria Ground and Stoke Town Centre. Of course, Mark Chester and the so-called Naughty 40 would go on to write books about their glory nights, but conveniently leave out the fairy tale rumour that sparked it all. No pregnant woman, no stabbing, just an excuse for a planned attack on a travelling fan base full of kids and families. That night stuck with me, not because of the game, we battered them on the pitch, but because of how it felt like a proper war zone, and not in the way us hooligan types looked for. There was no code, no honour, just ambushes, and anyone in black and white was fair game. Since then, I've been back to Stoke a few times, but the new ground is a soulless dump, and the away day never hits the same. Where next? Millwall 1988 maybe? Now there's a story for another day maybe. We thank Mark and Ryan for their recollections of this infamous event. It's clear the Geordies more than met their match at the old Stoke Victoria Ground. But Stoke was always a tough place to visit, and not many firms took liberties there, that's for sure. Indeed, both firms are high up in most people's list of all-time best or worst firms of all time. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, comment and subscribe as it really helps our channel grow. Bye for now.